All right, sorry about that. Unexpected situation there. I'll give it a minute to send out the notification. Again, my apologies. But we'll see if we're able to get a bit of an audience back here. I'll give it another minute. We were flowing, and we had to get off here. But we're back. We'll finish up here. I was just sitting out that notification. Again, we do apologize. Trying to see if it's broadcasting. Should be broadcasting on Facebook. I don't see it here. I'm not sure why. Okay. There it is. Got a little concerned. I didn't see it. All right. And people are kind of jump back on if they're able. Again, we do apologize to our YouTube and Facebook audience. Unexpected situation there, but we're back. So where did I leave off? The reality of it is I want to establish that. So let me say it again for those who may not have saw the first half of this. Please catch it, and just jumping in now. The reality of it is how we handle our money is not just about our income and expenses. As much as we might like to think it is, Gabe, I'm really not a money person, and I just do what I need to do and then I'm done with it. I'm not so much talking about, again, your handling of your money in terms of, I hope you pay your bills. I hope you have the means to pay your bills. Now, unfortunately, there are many people who are working who the money ain't meeting out the bills. They talk about that stretch, and I've been there too. Uh, 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 Might as well say it as I transition into this new job. I was there for 4 years. So but that's not what we're talking about tonight. What we're talking about tonight is when you want, and even in your bill pay, because let me just stop. Let me digress for a second. That's reflective as well, because whether you want to admit it or not, a part of your community are the people you pay. Now, if you pay all this electronically, which most of what I pay is electronically, once upon a time, my parents day when they were around my age and 200,000 years ago. I kid, of course, it was only 100,000 years ago. But once upon a time, everything was you had to take it in, put it in a drop box, write out the checks. And I remember, and my father was one. He did less. He did less of that before our eyes visibly. My mother, on the other hand, might sit down and write out a check or whatever the case may be. So I remember those days, and there's an interaction, and they run it through the machines and sign this and show me your driver's license. So there was an interaction, a community interaction, even when it came to paying your bills. Of course, now, and this is just an observation. When I go to, and I'm a self checkout type of person because I know exactly how it works. I walk in, boom, put my items down. My son is watching me, so he'll be a pro by the time he's at that point doing himself. Get up, scan the barcode, boom, boom, boom. Take out your means of pay, your whatever, your plastic or your cash, and be on your way. And not that I'm anti-person. It's hard to be anti-engagement when you do what I do, have been doing for 4 years, and even what I'm about to do for a living as a mental health professional. My point is, even once upon a time, even in paying your bills, even income was not direct deposits, and you would have to go to the human resource room, or you'd have to go to your boss's office, and he, you see him or her stuffing it into a check. I remember that. early days working, they would stuff it into an envelope and sign off on the ledger and have you initial or sign to get your check. I remember those, and maybe some are still doing that, smaller businesses, but I remember those days, and I had to initial to get my paycheck, and it was on payday, and everybody's kind of showing up to the particular location, or it was in the back office, and one at a time, and you come in, and so you have this interaction potentially with a manager or a boss. I'm not as young as I look. I know that's what you were thinking. Wow, man, Gabriel, you're not old enough for. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. So now, direct deposit, or a payday comes, it'll hit your bank that morning, whatever the case. I want to this game. I don't hit the bank that morning, so I won't go there. But for direct deposit, hey, it hits the bank. You don't even have to. You on your way out the door. You on your way out the door. Now, where I attend worship, I'm also an associate pastor, and it's we don't have to sign for it, but somebody puts it in an envelope and hands it to me. Sometimes I go in and it's sitting, on the drums or something like that. So there's not always a lot of interaction there. There's not a whole lot of conversation there. But once upon a time, even when it came to receiving your paychecks, paying your bills, going into the electric company, going into the gas company, there was interaction in a community interaction surrounding, listen to what I'm saying, your money. Now that's again been minimized. That's been dramatically minimized. The what I My point here, as before we get into some real specifics, and I probably upset a few people, which is what I do. It's okay. What I want you to understand is that our money interactions are significant. Now, again, a lot of people do a lot of stuff online. I've had some people joke with me about Black Friday, which of course I've never done. And I say, of course, I've never done it, and I'm not going to ever do it. There's no need for me to do it. I'm good. There's nothing to go out and buy a Gabe, but but Gabe, there's deals, and yeah, of course, there's deals. There's always deals. And if you haven't paid attention, there's always deals at some point. There's deals all year long. I don't have to go to Black Friday to get a deal. There's deals all the time. And as an online shopper, again, now there's not much community interaction being an online shopper, being an online bill payer. I will admit, it's just not. That's not necessarily why I do it. It's just convenient. It's safe. It's secure. I've been doing it for years. So don't touch it. Gabe, I don't know if it's safe. I've been doing it for years, years. So I'm way past concerned about being safe. My point here, as we turn this corner, is even in terms of some expenditures and income, there is some interaction even in the receiving and the giving. Now let's look at some specific cases where this is going to get touchy, but stay with me. Don't get mad at me. Just stay with me. How does money have an impact on community? Well, I talked about parents and children. Let's talk about husbands and wives. Statistically speaking, most people say that money is the number one cause for divorce. That's not actually true. Not according to what I think 2010 last major census that was calculated in all the statistical. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think money is the number one reason. It's sometimes often stated, but it's not. However, once upon a time, and it's still an issue, but arguments over money have led to not only separation, divorce. I kind of run those together, but that's a conversation for another time. But even physical harm in marriages or even dating. I tend to talk marriage, but even in dating environments, money as a community issue can be huge to relationships, not just husbands and wives. How about brothers? How about siblings? Let me say it that way. How about older parents, older children and parents loaning each other money? That book that you hear me allude to, I don't do it a lot on Thursdays, but you hear me allude to, we call the Bible. And one of those 66 books within that book called Proverbs, repeatedly, the writer of many of those Proverbs by the name of King Solomon says repeatedly, do not loan money. Repeatedly, what we call personal loans. If you're going to give it, just give it. Do not do personal loans. And one of the things that he goes on to talk about, and this is obviously not verbatim, I'm paraphrasing, is because it causes rifts. It causes issues between brothers or siblings, between parents and children, between besties. This is your hard-earned money. See, value my hard-earned money, man. Could you just loan it to me until blah blah blah? And hey, man. Now this is my hard-earned money, man. I'm saving this for this, but you my dog, you my homie, you my girl, you my besties, whatever. Here, with interest, without interest, whatever the case may be. I'm not getting into that. And then when the person doesn't pay you back, now money becomes a part of hard feelings. See, this subject is actually deeper than most of us really think about until we're facing those kind of situations. Until we are hard pressed. And I don't know if you've ever loaned money to a friend, to a sibling, to a parent, to a child. In other words, a grown child, usually. I don't know if you've ever given a personal loan or received a personal loan. I don't know, even if you have, if you've never been paid back, or maybe you finally got paid back after you had to tighten the screws, after you had to lay on guilt trips about your own money. As Chris Tucker, yes, I am a comedy person. I love comedy. And he says when he kind of got back into stand-up, he did his comedy show. He talked about loaning money to people. And he said, man, don't loan money to people because, you know, they come and talk about, hey, man, I got you. I'll pay you back. And then when the time comes, hey, man, I thought you said you was going to pay me back. Man, I say I'll pay you back on Tuesday. Yeah, you said next Tuesday, not any Tuesday, among other things that he went on to say. So believe it or not, let me look at it again. Income, where it goes, and why is a great indicator as to who truly comprises your community. So let me pose this question. So whether you're watching me live or watching this back, let me ask a question. Let's chat. Are you a money loaner? Considering the impact that money can have on relationships, are you one apt to loan money to people who are in your community? I imagine, especially close to you. Hello? See, while you thinking about it, and I don't think this is one that should require a lot of thought unless you never had somebody pose it to you. Well, welcome to Gabe's world, because I like to ask these questions. Because money can become a source of real contention with people who've known each other all their lives, i.e., siblings, people who've been married for decades. Money can tear them apart. Am I simply saying don't ever give a loan? Not necessarily. But the people I am familiar with who are doing far better than I am economically, they tend to have testimony to the fact that they loan out money and they get burned, and they, when they're giving their money tips to people who ask them, they say, don't loan out money to friends. Don't loan out money to family. I'm just telling you. Just telling you. And even the good book says just give it. Just give it with no thought to receive it back. So Gabe, you're telling me that if this is truly money I can't afford to part with, I should not part with it? But then what are they going to say about what I value? Uh-oh, that's the whole point of the talk. Because there's going to be some reflection or some judgment, some assessment. We talked about that in the first half about your value system. And do you have the well, I won't say that. Do you have the toughness? I'll say it that way. Do you have the guts to be able to stand your ground mentally, emotionally, and say, look, I love you. You my bestie, bestie, best. You my sis, you my bruh. I don't do loans or I don't handle money in that way. If you just need it, I'll give it to you. But that means I'm giving you what I can afford to part with. See? If you have a sacrificial view, see, now we're starting to get into, and I'm almost done. Now we're talking about how people view it. See, now we're getting into, yeah, I'm gonna use the word ready, the psychological realities of money. Money doesn't just have value in terms of barter and trade, in terms of how much is the toilet paper, in terms of how much will this trip cost. Money also speaks to one's own view of one's own value, juxtaposed to others in their community. Yeah, I said it. I said it. So if someone in your intimate community, close enough to you to have some idea of how much money you make or potentially have, for example, here's an easy one. Since Christmas is coming, mom, son, give me your daughter, give me your you son already, daughter, give me your Christmas list. And on her Christmas list, I want a pony, I want this, I want that, I want this. And homegirl don't recognize you're not living high on the hall. Maybe she's in elementary school and she don't quite have any understanding about what things cost. And so you looking at that list like, this little girl done lost all her mind because ain't nothing on her list. I can go to the Dollar Tree. Hey, I'm just gonna say it. Ain't nothing on this list. I go to the Dollar Tree. I can go to Walmart and get. Now, how much of that is her fault? How much of that is your fault? Because you gave her the impression that money grows on trees. Is a stupid analogy because money does grow on trees. Money is paper money grows on trees. Comes from some type of plant, I would assume. Anyway, but the reality of it is, as parents, we got to be careful not to give off the impression that money is easily obtained. And because it's easily obtained, it can be spent in some frivolous manner because now these children in our communities don't learn the value of it, and they began to think that if buying me what I want when I want it is how you show your value to me and of me. And if you try to live that life and then all of a sudden hurricane so-and-so comes or pandemic so-and-so comes, and now you can't live up to that, and now your face is long, and they looking at you like, mama, what's wrong? Well, we're not going to have no Christmas this year. Do you understand that how you value money in your self-perception, psychologically, emotionally, can rub off on your children? It can have an impact even on the people in your community, especially if you have allowed for a lot of, I'm going to say it, hanger-ons. Because they stroked your ego. I know this ain't popular, but let me speak for a minute, right? So you got all these people in your community that are you want to call a leech when you don't ran out of your resources because, well, they are there because you were giving them resources. And in particular, money. Whether it's your son or daughter, niece or nephew, siblings, maybe even your parents. I know that's hard to hear. Well, they raised you, and this if you say that to yourself, you just assume that's you're just now you're not assessing. Now you're drawing conclusions. Well, if that's the mother, what did she birth them? Wasn't she there all the time? Not necessarily. What if she had a stint on drugs? What if she was incarcerated? What if she was just living her life out and about, and then she fell on hard times, and now she believes she can throw her weight around? I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, and you need to kick a sister down or brother down with some cash flow, and your money is hard earned, and now you got to make some choices about how you value you before you even make a determination with your money about how you value them. Now, this is a tough subject. I know when you come, you think you can figure out where I'm going, but most people can't because I'm going to the place that people don't like to go. If you really want to try to figure out where I'm going week after week, be willing to go in your mind when you see the subject to, okay, now, what is the hardest place, the place I probably don't want to go? Because that's where I'm going. And notice, especially when we start talking about community, we need each other. This world really works better when we're there for each other. And that includes money. After all you said, Gabe, that's what you're going to say? Yeah, yeah. Because there is an expression of value in our money. There is an expression of value in our money and with our money, whether we want to admit it or not. There is a real connection between how much value we put in others and what we do with our money regarding others. I'm not changing what I said. I'm just making a point blank statement that I don't think anyone rightfully can disagree with. There is no doubt about it. And my son and I have had some very upfront, candid conversations. When I moved back here, and eventually he came here with his mother, and so we started the joint custody arrangement, and he's with me so many days and with her so many days and all that kind of thing. He saw the situation. He was young. He's still young, 9 years old, eight going on 9 years old. And we had some candid conversations about dad's economic situation because dad's economic situation is ultimately his economic situation. Now, some of you would disagree and Gabe, you shouldn't have that conversation with your children, but I'm not raising my son from my perspective to be a child all his life. In roughly 5.5 years, he will be a graduate from high school. And he will either be afraid of money, he'll be afraid of its power, afraid of what the decisions, or it'll be something he just deals with, as we all have to do who have to deal with money. So I am slowly but for surely preparing him to deal with what I just gave a couple of examples. I just scratched the surface of potential examples. I could have because we lost some time here, but I could have went deeper. How deep do we need to go? I used to watch a show before I get off here called American Greed. American Greed. If you have, I think A&E channel, this may still come on there. But if you don't, just look it up on YouTube. Type in American Greed, and you can see episodes and people's view of money. Now, here's my last thing: people will view money sometimes greater than human life. So if you don't think that topic is of any seriousness, I don't know where you've been. They just approved a 1.2, I think, $1 trillion infrastructure bill. They're still talking about a $1.7 trillion deal, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I've been out of the loop a little bit. Money is a serious topic, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very serious topic, and not just, again, bills, expenditures, income, export, import, export. No, it's huge to the psychological, emotional value systems and how we treat each other in our communities, what we value. Some will put more money on a purse or a pair of shoes or a game and a game system than they do on the people in their community, including their own children, their own spouses, their own lives, which is a whole nother broadcast in and of itself. So all that could be said, we'll leave it here. Again, I apologize for the blip right there in the middle. I hope it wasn't too disturbing, even for those watching this back. Please watch both of them. Share these videos out. Tag people in them. YouTube, especially, you can send it almost pretty much anyway now. YouTube is become very friendly. Facebook can be a little suspect about how you share it, but YouTube, you can pretty much share it in Messenger. You can share it on a text message. I think you can even share it in Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. So get this out before people and get the conversation started. Chat about these things with your children, kids or grown, still little, still young, or grown. Have conversations. If you got grandkids, talk to your kids. Hey, have you started teaching my grandson, my granddaughter about money? Not just what they're learning in elementary school and middle school and high school about coins and dollars. No, because they don't offer those kind of things that I know of anymore. And when I took economics class in 12th grade, we obviously talked about supply and demand, and we kind of talked over subjects. We didn't dig down into family budgets. We didn't talk about budgets and things like that. And a budget, by the way, real quickly, is where you can really see what you value. I'll just leave it right there. If you don't have a budget, I wonder how you track your values economically. Have a good one. We'll be back next Thursday, and then that'll be all really through the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we'll come back for a couple of weeks in December, and then we're going to be done for the rest of this calendar year. All right, till then, have a great night, and we'll see you. We're actually back here on Tuesday. That's when we do our actual Bible study, called Our Time to Grow, and then again on Thursday for Let's Chat. Have a good one.